Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the report for April 4th. And you know, the river's starting to fish better and better. It's not full speed, you know, all out right now, but the bite windows are starting to happen more and more frequently. There's fewer times in between those bite windows. A lot of guys are still grinding out here, especially on a day like I have today. It's about 7:30 in the morning. Flat calm, we're gonna have probably 70-degree weather. It makes it tough to catch fish midday. I'll talk about what I've been doing, and I was out this morning doing some topwater fishing right at that change of light. That's been good for me. It's been slow but very steady. I think I got about 10 or 12 fish today. They were on a pretty good bite, but guess what? The weather's been pretty predictable for the last 2 or 3 days. I know we're gonna have, I think it's today or tomorrow, the temperature's supposed to drop about 15 degrees. We'll see what that does to the fishing. All I can do is let you guys know what's happened this week, and I have a feeling that that front coming in may play a little havoc with the fishing for a couple of days, but we'll wait and see what goes on with that. So we'll get into a little river business, and then we'll get right into the reports. We got the Bass and Badges tournament starting today, the 4th and 5th. I'm gonna try to get out there and support all of the police officers, fire department, vets, correctional officers. I'll see what's going on out there. I'll try to get some interviews and maybe put up a video on how they do, and just kind of support that tournament. We also have the Crappie Closet Crappie Tournament out at Holland Riverside Marina, April 6th, which is Sunday. We got a BBT tournament Saturday. We're going to start seeing a lot of tournaments coming from now through summer into the fall. So we're going to have a good idea of what some of the tournament anglers are doing, what kind of bags they're bringing in. And I'm going to make a prediction that this year it's going to take probably over 20 pounds to win most tournaments. I know this week, because of this front coming in, it's anybody's game. We may see some 25-pound bags, and you know, on the other end of it, we may see an 18-pound bag win the tournament. Who knows? I do think what's going to happen this summer is that we're all going to see a good number of fish in the 2 to 4 pound class. It seems like what's in the river now in the biggest numbers. Everybody's getting those nice, you know, they're not tournament winning bags, but just a lot of nice fun fish. They're all healthy, they're good looking, they're spunky, and man, if you're catching them on topwater, it's been a blast for me. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. Also, I'll say that the sea lions are on a rampage in here. The Central Delta, we have had some stripers move in, and I have a feeling that the sea lions have followed those striper in. Also, just an abundance of beaver and otter that seem right now they're just super active. So a lot going on out here. The river's really coming alive. As far as river conditions, I'm getting lots of reports from way north, up around Liberty, the guys fishing up there in Sacramento. Still about 2 feet of visibility up there. It's still pretty clouded, but the fishing's starting to happen. Same thing down south. They still have, you know, a couple feet of visibility, but the guys that are fishing out of the Tracy area, they're catching fish down there, and some guys are putting together pretty big bags. So don't worry about 2 feet, 1 foot of visibility giving you any problems as far as the fishing goes. The fish are biting and that type of visibility. Here in the Central Delta, we got 4 to 5 feet of visibility. Water temperatures have been anywhere from about, they were steadily up around 61, 62, 63 degrees. We had a couple of cold nights. It dropped down to about 59 degrees, but you're going to see somewhere around 60 degrees if you're out here before this cold front moves in. And depending on how cold the weather gets here in the next day or two and how long it stays, down around that 60-degree daytime temperatures, down in the 50s in the evenings, we may drop down to 58, 59 degrees again. But after that, I think we're going to have pretty steady weather, and I think that's when as long as that weather is stable and the weatherman's right, we're going to have pretty good fishing after this next front moves in. The fish are ready to go. The largemouth are trying to get in deeper into the pre-spawn. Most people this week are saying, man, we're not, the fish that we were seeing a week ago, we're not seeing as many, cruising around in the shallows. Not a lot of beds being spotted. A few of them are out there in isolated areas, but, really not a whole lot of spawning going on right now, but it is definitely pre-spawn. Talk about the stripers. Got some word from up around Liberty. They are getting some stripers up there now. Sacramento River, around 3 Mile Slough is producing stripers, or 3 Mile River, whatever you want to call it, right there at the Sacramento. That's still producing. And there's a lot of fish in the central delta. A lot of folks are going out of either Paradise or Lads. They're doing well. I know there's a lot of fish up around Frank's Track. Fish King and my son Nate were out, when was it, Monday or Tuesday, and I know, I think they reported about a 30 fish day with fish up to about 30 inches. They were throwing glide baits. Fish King's been on them. He's been out fishing that area between, I'll say, Lads and the duck pond, and they're just up and down the main channel, fishing all the inlets to the sloughs coming into the main channel. Fish King's been throwing S-wavers, 200s, sneaky Pete's, things like that. They're getting a better class of fish. The guys that are throwing jerk baits and chatter baits are catching fish, but they're the smaller fish. A lot of folks that have reported catching stripers saying they are full of crayfish, so that's why the stripers are chasing a lot of these crayfish. That's why we're getting them on chatterbaits. So not a whole lot of interest going in to the stripers this time of year, but they're out there and they're available. The guys that are throwing jerk baits fishing for bass out around Frank's Track, they're getting quite a few stripers that are starting to show up in the sacks again. Most of those fish are 16 to maybe 20, 22 inches. So let's get right into the largemouth bass, and it's getting more and more steady. A lot of folks are reporting that it's still a grind, but I think the word is kind of slow but productive, unless you are fishing the change of light bite in the morning or staying out till right at dark. And again, the dark bite has also been very good for stripers, so you have a chance if you're going to stay out till dark to catch both stripers and maybe a big largemouth. But midday can be a grind, especially when it's like this. Sun's up, flat calm. Man, you got to look for a little bit of breeze somewhere. Stay around some place where you can find a breeze and let that wave action work for you, so you can get at least halfway close to these fish, and they're not quite as spooky. There is no pattern on the delta at all. The only pattern is generally we're all catching more and more fish, but I'll get, this week I've got dozens and dozens of reports, and there'll be one guy fishing in Frank's Track and he's doing great punching. The next guy, he's doing really good, but he's throwing a chatterbait. Worms are very consistent no matter where you're at, what you're doing. Everybody seems to be, when their number one pattern drops, they'll go to a worm, and that's been probably still the most consistent bait. But there's not one pattern over the entire river. It's isolated bite windows that pop up, and you have to fish what's in front of you. Now, what are people catching fish around? They're looking for clean vegetation in 3 to 4 feet of water. Even though that vegetation is in 3 or 4 feet of water, a lot of people are still saying we're getting fish very tight to the bank in a foot or two of water. But what's out from that foot or two of water has to be clean vegetation. You've got to find some hard bottom around. That's getting more and more difficult because we've got a lot of subsurface vegetation. A lot of it's getting some snot in it, and I have not done well where that subsurface vegetation has snot in it. So find an area that has subsurface vegetation and some hard bottom around. Usually you're going to have to find somewhere where there's a little bit of current. It's going to be an island point. If it's a rock bank, it's going to be a rock bank that has some current on it, keeping that vegetation nice and clean. I have done very well fishing early mornings up against rock banks inside the trough, even when the trough weed growth is matted and I've got 4 to 5 feet between the matted stuff and the bank. I've been doing very well inside the trough. It seems like there's nothing on the outside, but they're all on the inside. What else can I say about, it's chatterbaits. Some folks are catching them on crankbaits. Crankbaits seem to be catching smaller fish. Topwaters in the morning, I'm getting fish up to 4 pounds pretty routinely. Most of them are in the 2 to 3 pound class, but just fun fish. Punching is coming on. The guys that are really pushing the punch bite, they're catching some nice fish, but it's not a very consistent bite. Chatterbaits and spinnerbaits, mostly in the red and black colors, orange color, fire craw color, they're catching fish, but you just have to fish what's in front of you. I've been going out every morning, starting about 20 to 30 minutes before the sun comes up. That's been slow. I got my first fish on a wake bait this week. Wasn't a big one, but I finally got one on the wake bait. It's probably about 3 pounds. I've had a couple big swirls underneath that wake bait that didn't grab it. Today I threw a whopper plopper just to see if they were going to take that. Nothing at all. I've been catching a couple of fish a day on a walking bait, a big walking bait. This is a rover. You can throw a spook or whatever. That's picking up some fish, but number one bait has been this river to sea bubble walker. I have the rattles removed, especially on days like today where it's so flat. This has been picking up all kind of fish for me. If you have a Rico or a Popar or something like that, a small popper walking bait that's about in the 3-inch class, that's going to take you a lot of fish. And I've got some nice fish, like you say, up to about 4 pounds, and it's just producing steady action. When that bite starts, right about the time the sun comes up, it lasts for about 45 minutes, and when it stops, you know that the fish are gone. They're out of there. That's when you got to basically put down your topwaters and either wait for some wind to come up if you're going to go back to topwaters, or just start dragging worms. That would be my suggestion. I have been doing pretty well when I've stayed out and I just want to sit down and fish super slow and drag 6-inch plastic worms, Cincos or robo worms through heavy vegetation. It's a little bit slow type of fishing, but it can be very productive. And the nice thing is most of those fish are right around 3 pounds. There just seems to be a lot of that class of fish. I'll show you a couple fish that I caught this morning that, I usually don't throw fish in the box, but I had a couple right after the sun came up, and I knew I wasn't going to hold them for long. So I'll show those off for you. That's just a representative of the average fish that you're going to see out here. And they're very healthy, they're fat, they're in good shape, and man, they fight like crazy. So it is time to get out here. Probably we're going to have to wait and see what happens with this storm. And I'm going to make a little prediction. We'll see what happens with the BBT in this Badge and Badges tournament. And after next week, weatherman's predicting there's supposed to be pretty stable weather. I think that's when things are going to really start going. As long as we have stable weather, it's going to happen out here. So guys, thanks for so much for watching, and I really appreciate you guys that have been sending in the reports and the pictures. Keep them coming. Congratulations to all you guys that got your PBs. I think I had 3, 4, 5 guys that said they got their PBs and sent me a picture this week. So congratulations to you guys. And with that, man, you know, I wouldn't be taking any time off right now, but we're probably a week or 2 away from, you know, maybe calling in sick or taking a couple of days off and getting out here, because the river is in good shape and it's going to start really happening. I know I've been saying that, but I think the weather's going to start cooperating. That's going to kick this river into high gear. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, good luck.